स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा। Today we are discussing a very interesting topic, anger management. Actually, Devi Mataji has been after me for quite some time. Please do this topic. But I was somewhat trying to postpone this topic because I thought let me first try to follow it myself. One time there was one mother who got the child to a guru and told this guru, please tell my child eats a lot of sweets. Please tell the child to stop eating sweets. The guru told the mother, please come after 1 week. So the mother got the child after 1 week and this guru told the child, please stop eating sweets. It's not good for you. And the child said, okay. So mother said, you could have told us last week only. What was the problem? So the guru said, till now when you came, I was addicted to sweets. To tell the child to stop eating sweets, I had to follow it myself. Right? First achar, then prachar. You follow, then preach. So I was trying to avoid this topic because I thought let me follow it myself. But it's an important topic and we all need to apply it in our life. So today we'll spend some time understanding this topic of anger, how it comes about, what are the, how is the workings of anger and how do we actually deal with this powerful energy and emotion that comes up in our body and in our mind on a regular basis. Lord Krishna tells in the Gita, Shaknoti haiva yah shodum prak sharira vimokshana. Yeah, you all can.
Yeah, even could all put the mobile silent to 1 hour, except for mine, in case I get it.
So Lord Krishna tells in the Gita, Shaknoti haiva yah shodum prak sharira vimokshana kama krodhat bhavam vegam sa yukta sa sukhi nara. This is the 5th chapter of the Gita. Lord Krishna says, anyone who can tolerate the force of anger, of lust, of desires till the end of life, such a person can be happy and peaceful. What does it mean? That means as long as we have this human body, these emotions will keep firing up. Right? These things will keep coming. The emotions of lust, greed, anger, these things will keep coming. We have to learn to tolerate. Right? We may not be completely perfect at it, but at least we should get a little better. If you are moving closer to the goal, if you are getting better day by day, that itself is progress. One of our great Acharya, Srila Rupa Goswami, he's written a book called Updeshamrit. The first sloka of the book he says, Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jiva vegam udara upastha vegam etan vegan yo vishaheta dhira sarvam apiman prithvim sa shishyat. So he says, there are 6 urges, forces in our body. You understand what an urge is? Urge or a force. It's a certain force that comes in our body which is very difficult to control. The first vague force is the urge to speak, vacho vegam. We all want to speak. A lot of sages, sadhus, they follow this process of Monavat, 1 day no speaking. It's a big challenge. It's a big challenge because you're so used to continuously speak. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam. The thoughts, the mind is so hyperactive. To pacify the mind is also a very big challenge. Similarly, Rupa Goswami says, krodha, anger is a force that comes in our body. Anyone who can tolerate all these urges, the urge of the mind, the urge of speaking, the urge of tasting different things, right? The urge of the tongue, the genitals, all these various forces that come in our system, anyone who can tolerate it, such a person is called a Goswami. In Sanskrit, you have two words, Goswami and Godas. Go means senses. We have senses, eyes, ears, nose, we have different senses. And the senses demand gratification. Eyes want something, the tongue wants something. So generally in this world, we are all servant of the senses. Whatever the eyes want to see, we follow. Wherever the ears want to go, we go. We should actually become Goswami. We should become master of the senses. So therefore, the great saints in all parts of the world and in every religion, everywhere around the world, they try to control the forces of the mind and senses. And anger is one such force that we definitely need to work on. So anger is, in one sense, it's a normal emotion that comes, when we experience frustration, it naturally comes. But if it is uncontrolled, it's dangerous. Controlled anger, channelized anger is okay. It's okay. But an uncontrolled anger can create havoc. Just like fire, controlled fire is good. Cooking is fire. If you say fire is bad, then you can't cook only. So we are not saying anger is absolutely bad. Anger has a certain purpose. Anger can be channelized in a certain way, provided it's in a controlled way. But the issue is, you may start with a certain control of anger, but very soon it may overpower you. And then you make certain decisions and certain actions which can be very, very detrimental. So the people who commit crimes are because of this force of anger that comes sudden. They are not able to pause it. It just overpowers them. And after the whole incident is over, they understand that they don't even know why they did it. It just completely short circuits your own intelligence and your own system. You're not able to understand at that point when you're angry. You're not able to understand things in a rational way. What is good, what is bad, right? So just like, a parent may use anger to discipline the child. There's some amount of anger that is being used there. But it is for a certain purpose. Like in the Bhagavad Gita setting, Arjuna was a warrior. To fight, you need anger. So Arjuna channelized that anger to fight against injustice. That kind of anger is allowed. You're using anger for a certain cause. Like in the Ramayana, you have Hanumanji, who goes and burns Lanka and gives Ravana a very strong message. So that is like a channelized anger. So that kind of anger is allowed. But when anger goes out of proportions, you don't know what can someone do. So the spelling of anger, A-N-G-E-R, it is said anger is one letter short of danger. Danger also has the same spelling. D-A-N-G-E-R, right? Just one letter short. So we have to be very, very careful. Like the same episode of Hanumanji burning Lanka. Hanumanji burned the entire Lanka because he wanted to give a strong message to Ravan. But after he burned the entire Lanka, as he was coming back to Rameshwaram, Hanumanji realized, I burned the whole Lanka. What if Sita was also burnt? Sita was there in one particular group, Ashok Patika. That time in Ramayana, Hanumanji explains how anger is very, very dangerous. Even someone like Hanumanji has to be very careful in how we use anger. See, anger in one sense, every time we get angry, if we actually feel that energy, as soon as we get angry and we say something that is very abusive, out of proportions, immediately there is a feeling of guilt, and more than that, there is a feeling of dirtiness that comes. You feel very bad about it. So that means you have gone out of proportion. If it was a controlled anger, after the whole episode, you will get a certain result. But if it's an uncontrolled anger, it goes out of proportion and it shuts your intelligence. In the Bhagavad Gita, yesterday we were discussing these verses, second chapter, verse number 61, 62, Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains a sequence, a flow chart of how a person gets trapped in this world or how a person starts to suffer. So Lord Krishna says, Dhyayato Vishayan Punsan Sangastesu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamat Kamat Krodho Bijayate Krodha Bhavati Sammoha Sammoha Smriti Vibrama Smriti Bramshat Buddhi Nasho Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. So, in our school days or college days, we have learned flow charts, especially computer science students, they have a flow chart. So Lord Krishna in this particular two verses explains how a person falls down in this world, suffers in this world. What is the flow chart? The first thing, the whole fall down, the whole entrapment of a living entity starts with Dhyayato Vishayan Punsan. When we think about sense gratification of this world, when we want to enjoy, when we have a lot of wrong desires, when we keep meditating on it, we become attached to it. Once you become attached to it, you develop this lust, the desire to enjoy it. And when the lust is very, very high, you actually go and do that sinful activity. And if the lust is not fulfilled, it leads to anger. See, Lord Krishna tells in the Gita, there are three gates to suffering or to hell. Three gates to hell. What are the three gates? Lust, anger, greed. These three things are very, very dangerous. And these three things have a certain sequence. When you have lust, what does lust mean? Lust means the desire to enjoy, out of proportion. You want to enjoy things that is not even rightfully yours. When these lusty desires come up, the more you fulfill them, the more they increase. So if you satisfy lust, lust becomes greed. And when lust is not satisfied, lust becomes anger. What is anger? Unfulfilled lust. You become so frustrated, you become angry. Like Ravan, he couldn't enjoy Sita, he was so angry, so frustrated. In Sanskrit, anger, krodha, in Sanskrit, anger is called krodha. Another name for krodha is kamanuj. Anger is considered to be the younger brother of lust. So whenever kama comes, whenever wrong desires come, the younger brother will come along. Understanding? So whenever there is desire to enjoy, wrong desires, along with that will come anger, frustrated. We see in this world, Hare Krishna. We see in this world, whenever your desire is frustrated, automatically anger comes up. And just like the sequence of Gita, Lord Krishna says, when someone becomes angry, intelligence stops to work. You are not able to understand what is right, what is wrong. In the setting of the Ramayana, Ravan, when he was so attached to Sita, he wanted to enjoy Sita, he would get frustrated quite often. So many people try to advise Ravan, give up Sita, she's bringing more suffering to you. But Ravan is not able to understand. In Hindi they say, Vinasha kale viprita buddhi. When there's a time for your destruction, your intelligence just stops functioning. You just don't know what is right, what is wrong. And anger is something like that. One time, there was a family, they had a small child and they had a pet mongoose. They loved this mongoose and they kept this mongoose so that the mongoose can protect the child, because sometimes both the parents would go off. So one time the father had gone out for some work and the mother was busy somewhere. A snake had come to bite the child. So the mongoose went and killed that snake. And the mongoose came out. When the father came to the house, he saw the mongoose has blood all over its mouth. The father thought the mongoose has killed the child. And the father beat the mongoose and killed the mongoose because of anger. And when he stepped inside, he saw that the snake is dead And this mongoose had not killed the child but protected the child. So the pet mongoose was dead because of anger. And this is just one example. There are many, many examples of people who go out of proportions because of anger. And anger is like charcoal, or anger is like acid. You keep it, it destroys you more. So many people, the way they deal with anger is, one level of dealing with anger is suppression. You suppress it. But suppression is not the key, because you suppress it, at one point it will explode in, unwanted proportions. And the other way is just explode. But the ideal way to deal with anger is to transform anger into something positive, right? See, anger is basically an emotion. It's an energy. If it can be channelized in a certain way, that energy will have a certain function. Otherwise, it can just lead to destruction. So we continuously have a lot of triggers, and especially when we live in a city life, there's so many triggers that make us irritable. Anger is one of the reasons why people get hot, angry very quickly, is because of that irritable nature. And in the city life, you continuously experience it. Like when your life is revolving around the clock, when everything has to move in time, one of the things doesn't work, you get angry. Imagine your day starts, you put your alarm clock and your wife has snoozed it or put it off. You first of all get up late for office. You go to the bathroom, your kid has misplaced the toothpaste somewhere else, further late. You come out to drive the car, you find out that someone has driven the car, no petrol, more frustration. And you go out, fill the petrol, go, you're stuck in a traffic jam. N number of reasons to be frustrated. For people who went to the Kumbh Mela recently, I think Mataji also went, even I had gone to the Kumbh Mela. I had gone from a place called Jabalpur in Madhya Pradesh, traveling to Kumbh. So much traffic jam. So now caught in a traffic jam, there's no point in being frustrated. Rather wait and find out your ways to move along. So anger is such a thing that it can actually destroy your peace in life. It can completely destroy it. And there are various triggers for anger that keep coming regularly. They keep coming regularly. One is when people actually make fun of us, abuse us, speak ill names. Yesterday, I was just going through some notes preparing for today's class. I was going to our program in Panjim. We have to take a lift and go to the 4th floor. We have a center there. As I was getting into the lift, small lift, there were already 3 guys there. There were 2 of us. There was enough place for us. As we were getting in, one guy there started to tell, don't get in, there is no place. My anger was already coming up. And I was realizing I'm preparing a class for anger management. So it's like that, life is, it throws about so many triggers that actually bring about this sense of anger, right? When when someone abuses you, tortures you, and so many things. And we have certain external triggers and we have internal triggers also. Internal triggers I already discussed. One of it is unfulfilled desires, which is an internal trigger. We saw that sequence of Gita. If you have unfulfilled desires, definitely at some time it is going to lead to anger. In the scriptures, you have one very interesting story in the Vedic scriptures. There were 2 demons, 2 brothers called Sunda Upasunda, very powerful demons. And they were so powerful, they got a boon from Brahma, who is the creator, that they could be killed by each other, no one else can kill them. And they became so powerful, they started to create havoc everywhere. And the demigods were very scared what to do, how to deal with these people. We can't kill them at all. So Brahma created a beautiful damsel called Tilottama. Very beautiful girl, the daughter of Brahma. And this Tilottama went separately to both the brothers and she started to talk to them. And both of them proposed to Tilottama that we want to marry you. When both these brothers came to know that they are in love with that same girl, they didn't realize for a long time. When they realized that, they started to fight. And they fought and they actually killed each other. So the point is, when you have desires, naturally anger follows. The second internal trigger that creates anger is egoism. We have so much ego. Anyone speaks anything, the ego just stands apart. There was who was sitting on a boat, between a river, peaceful setting, no one there around. He's sitting in that boat and meditating with eyes closed, very peaceful. And he's feeling his emotions calm down, his mind calm down, and he's closed his eyes. And suddenly one boat comes and hits his boat. And his meditation is like shaken a little. But he didn't want to open his eyes. So he just tolerated it. He's meditating. If this anger comes up, then my focus will go. Meditation will go down the drain. So let me be a little peaceful. So he closed his eyes, a little peaceful. And the boat hit again. So this time, he's not opened his eyes to see what is the situation. But internally he's thinking, who is this guy? He thinks I'm a weak guy. I can't do anything to him. And finally, his emotions are so much, it forces his eyes to open. And he looks and he sees that it is an empty boat. No one is there in the boat. The wind has just pushed the boat and hit his boat. That's it. But this shows how, see, many times now, the way we can deal with this emotion of anger is when we actually feel it arise, when we are really aware of this emotion coming up, then we can actually deal with it. Many times we are so unconscious, we are just taken over completely, and at the end we regret about the whole incident. So developing a sense of awareness, a sense of mindfulness is very, very important. Therefore, spiritual practices, chanting, meditation, and all these practices help us become more and more aware, more and more conscious of what is happening. In Ramayana, there is this. How many of you have heard the story of Vishwamitra? Sometime I will tell you all in detail. It's a fascinating story. But just to make this point here. So Vishwamitra Muni was a very powerful warrior, a Kshatriya, a very powerful warrior who wanted to become a great sage. So he took to the orders of tapasya. So after doing tapasya for many, many thousands and thousands of years, Indra, who is the king of the demigods, he became a little insecure. And Indra sent a beautiful damsel called Menaka to allure Vishwamitra. And Vishwamitra got allured. He got carried away. He fell prey to lust. And he started to enjoy Menaka. Thousands of years of austerity. When you do tapasya, you get a certain shakti. You get a certain energy, a certain power. All that energy was gone down the drain because he fell prey to lust. After the whole episode of falling prey to lust, Vishwamitra realized I did a big mistake. For this moment of enjoyment, I wasted so much of my time and energy. So Vishwamitra gathered himself and again starts to do tapasya. Indra again sends one Apsara. This Apsara is called Ramba. So this time Vishwamitra understood I should not fall prey to lust. He didn't fall prey to lust, but he became very, very angry and he burnt Ramba to ashes. Looked at her and burned her. After the whole incident, Vishwamitra again realized, first time I wasted all my tapasya bal because of lust. Second time I wasted it because of anger. And slowly he realizes his mistake and he doesn't repeat that mistake again. The problem for all of us is Vishwamitra, he fell prey to lust once, he didn't repeat it again. He fell prey to anger once, he didn't repeat it again. But the problem is falling prey to these emotions and then again, but we actually don't learn our lessons. So this kind of pent up anger, continuous. So one is sudden emotions of anger, but some people by nature are very, very angry. By nature. That means continuously they have this internal triggers, either frustrated desires or egoism, something like that that continuously keeps bothering them. In the Bhagavatam, I'm telling you a lot of stories so that you all can connect. In Bhagavatam, there is a story of a 5-year-old boy, a warrior boy called Dhruva. Dhruva was a 5-year-old boy. One time he goes to sit on the lap of his father. His father's name was Uttanapad, a great king. So Dhruva goes to sit on his father's lap. So when a 5-year child goes to sit on the father's lap, basically the child is looking for love, the child is looking for security, the child is looking a sense of shelter and all these things, a relationship. So he went with genuine emotions to express that kind of love with his father. But Uttanapad had two wives. So Dhruva's mother, Suniti, was one wife, and he had another wife called Suruchi. So the stepmother of Dhruva insulted Dhruva. You know what she told Dhruva? A 5-year-old boy, she's telling Dhruva, you can't sit on your father's lap because you're not born from me. You're born from your other mother, therefore you cannot sit. You go and die, be born again through me, then only you can sit. Can you imagine this? Telling it to a 5-year-old child. Because she was so frustrated, she's removing the frustration on this boy. Dhruva, being a warrior child, he just couldn't tolerate insult. He was burning, was hissing like a snake. Anger, the height of anger is there in a snake. You step on a snake, you will see the snake hissing. So that was the kind of anger Dhruva had. Completely frustrated, Dhruva comes running to his actual mother, Suniti, and tells Suniti, what should I do? I'm so frustrated. I just want to take revenge now. There's nothing else in my mind. So Suniti tells Dhruva, you're angry. Channelize your anger. Use this as an opportunity to escalate. See, anger can lead to degradation, and that same anger, when channelized, can lift you up also. Suniti tells, if you take revenge, that's what you'll get. But use this anger to Krishna. Ultimately, every emotion you can try to connect to Krishna. When you're frustrated, you can go and cry in front of Krishna, you can connect to Krishna. So she told Dhruva, go to the forest and meditate, and when you achieve Krishna, you will achieve all your goals. So Dhruva goes to the forest and meditates for 6 months, intense tapasya, and he actually sees God face to face. Because Suniti means intelligent. Niti means intelligent. Very intelligent mother. She channelized Dhruva's anger for a greater purpose. Many of the revolutions in this world is because of anger. When people are frustrated and when they come together, and they decide for a bigger cause, they can actually do great wonders. So Dhruva channelized that and used this frustration to achieve something greater. In the same pages of the scriptures, we have the story of Vidura. Vidura was one of the members of the royal family of the Pandavas and the Kauravas. A very elderly person, a very great devotee of God. So Duryodhan, who was an angry young man, frustrated for every reason. So Duryodhan started to use abusive words to Vidura. He told Vidura, you are a son of a Shudra, you are like a dog in our house, and all kinds of things. And he's speaking this in front of everyone. An elderly man has spoken so much. Vidura, he could have retaliated, he could have done so many things. Vidura said, good. Anyway, I wanted to get break from all this royal politics. Duryodhan has given me away. So Duryodhan tells Vidura, get out of the palace. Take your clothes and get out from here. I don't want to see you again. Vidura says, good. Duryodhan is my well-wisher. Because of Duryodhan, I can go out for Tirth Yatras. And Vidura goes around and goes to all the holy places, meets all sages and upgrades himself. Right? So this is how he used anger, the anger that was vented on him, even though it was not his mistake, he used it to upgrade himself. Right? So scriptures teach us how we need to channelize anger in a particular way. So what we are discussing at this point is different triggers for anger. One of the triggers for anger is our own unfulfilled desires. One of the main triggers for anger is egoism. When we are too egoistic, every small thing that people tell us, it hits us. In English, there is a saying, if someone throws a shoe at you, if it fits you, wear it. What does it mean? It means if someone criticizes you, our first reaction is, how dare he says that? But if someone is criticizing you, might be there is some truth in it. If you are intelligent, what do? You analyze. What he is saying, is it correct? If it is correct, if the shoe is fitting you, wear it. What is the problem? So people in this world are going to abuse us, criticize us. So we need to analyze if it's good for us, we can use it in the right direction. So this is another trigger for anger, egoism, frustration, and then envy. Envy is another trigger for anger. One of the reasons people get angry when they see others becoming successful, automatically anger comes. You become angry. So that means this is complete misuse of anger, becoming envious. And then the desire to control others. When someone doesn't listen to you, you become so angry. The Bhagavatam, you have the story of father and son. Hiranyakashipu was a demon. He had a son, Prahlad, who was a devotee. Because Prahlad didn't listen to his father, Hiranyakashipu tried so many ways to eliminate Prahlad. Because the desire to control is so very dangerous. So these are the various triggers that keep coming on an internal basis. Ego, desires. Why we are discussing this? Because every time we get angry, we have to find out what triggered this anger. Is it my unfulfilled desires? Is it my ego? What it is that triggered this anger? Is it that this person is not listening to me? Therefore, I want to just suppress him down. Right? So what is actually triggering this anger? This is what we should actually look at. So this is called a heightened sense of awareness, alertness. So anger, as I told you, there's a positive formula, there's a positive use of anger when it's used for a certain purpose. Like Hanumanji, destroying Lanka, or Arjun using anger. Arjun was a warrior. To fight, he had to use anger for a right cause. But most often, anger has negative consequences. But one of the first consequences of anger is it affects our mental health and physical health. Many of the heart problems, lot of issues, high blood pressure and all this is because of anger. Many people, when the anger bout is so heavy, people can actually lose their life also. If it's like very, very uncontrolled. It can lead to damage in relationships. See, in a moment of anger, we may speak something. After the whole thing is over, we may even say sorry for it. But what damage it has done, it has already done. Those scars are almost like permanent scars. Physical hurt heals, but hurt that is done on the heart, the emotional hurt, takes a long time to heal. And many times it may not even heal. That scar may still remain. So we have to be very, very careful, the kind of words that we use. So anger has created wars and can lead to a lot of issues, in every level practically. So therefore, one has to be very careful how you deal with anger. So there's a saying, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. The problem with all of us is we want to speak very quick. God has given us 2 ears, 1 tongue, but we use the tongue more and the ears less. We hear less and we want to speak more. So therefore, controlling the tongue, we may be angry, but at that moment, just keep quiet. If you can just keep quiet and speak at a later time, it will be very, very beneficial. We have to just see, these are emotions that come up at that particular time. If you can escape that time, then things will be better. If you just act at that time, most probably it's going to be a wrong decision that we have made. One time, someone was criticizing Lord Buddha, speaking ill names at Lord Buddha. So Buddha asked him, if you give me 10,000 rupees and I don't take it, whom it remains with? It remains with you only. So you are speaking ill names. If I don't accept it, it will remain with you only. So in this way, we have to learn to deal with anger. The scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita, speaks about 3 modes of nature. Did I discuss this before? Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun? No. So Sattvagun means mode of goodness. Right? So you'll find people who are very cool-headed, very calm, very peaceful. This is like Sattvagun. There will be some people who are naturally, they have a lot of desires, very angry type people. They are in the mode of passion. And there may be some people who are more prone to depression, who always feel hopeless, helpless. Such people are in the mode of ignorance. So in order to deal with anger in the root level, One has to cultivate sattva guna, goodness. If we have a lot of passion in our system, if we are surrounded in an environment that is very passionate, then naturally we will be prone to anger more often. If you are in an environment that is very, very peaceful, your mindset is very, very peaceful, even if those triggers come, which will come eventually, we'll be able to deal with it in a better way. One time, there were three people, three hat sellers. They were selling hats. They had to pass through a forest to go to a city, from a village to a city to sell those hats. So they sat below one tree in a forest. So the monkeys, this guy, one by one, all of them go. The first guy, he goes there, he just sleeps there. The monkeys take all the hats and go on top. This fellow was frustrated how to get the hats. So because this fellow was in the mode of ignorance, he just started to cry and came back to his village. The monkeys have taken. So those who are in the mode of ignorance, whenever a difficulty comes, they will just give up and go. They become very hopeless. They become very depressed. The second guy, who was very passionate, when the monkeys took the hats, he started to yell at the monkeys and do all that. The monkeys also yelled at him, showed faces at him, and this fellow also came. He didn't get the hats back. The third guy was in the mode of goodness. He thought, how should I deal with it? So what he did was, he had one hat. He took that hat, put it on his head. All the monkeys put their hats on their head. And he took that hat and put it on the ground. And all the monkeys also put their hats on the ground. So he thought very cleverly how to deal. So this situation of monkeys taking the hat and going, these situations will come in everyone's life. But if you are in the mode of goodness, we can deal with it better. So how to cultivate mode of goodness? The Gita and the scriptures explain various things that we can do to make our mindset more peaceful, more cool-headed. One of the things is a balanced routine. Krishna explains in the Gita, Yukta ahara viharasya yukta chetasu karmasu. Lord Krishna says regulated eating, regulated sleeping, regulated recreation. What does regulated mean? Same time, same amount. The problem is why people become irritable is because the schedules keep changing so often. So if you have a fixed time, your system will also fall in place. A fixed time to sleep, a fixed time to get up, a fixed time to eat, and the fixed amount to eat. It's not that you overeat, you undereat, you have a fixed amount. If your life is very, very balanced in terms of eating, sleeping, then gradually the clock will set in and things will become a little more peaceful. So balanced sleeping is something, balanced sleeping, balanced eating is something that's very, very important. And speaking about eating, see, anger is in one way a display of passion, a display of violence against others, either physically or verbally. It also depends very much on the food we take. They say that we are what we eat ultimately. So what kind of food we take is also very important. If we eat sattvic food that is very sattvic, very simple kind of food, then the systems that get built into our body, the cells that get built into our body are more peaceful, sattvic. If we have the food that is too passionate and filled with so much violence, that kind of thoughts and ideas also keep coming. So balancing our sleeping, some amount of time for yoga. Yoga basically means deep breathing, all these things actually help to relax the entire system down. See, when someone is not at rest, either you have slept less for a long period of time, or your energy levels are less, or you're sick. Anytime when we are sick and someone tells us do this, do that, you get very irritable. So if the body is at peace, if you are going through your basic yoga process and all that, it's better to deal with anger. And also, it's very important that we have some sense of humor, in the sense that, especially when people speak ill against us, take it with a pinch of salt. It's okay. If we are not that great that no one can make fun of us, one of the stories that triggered the entire war of Mahabharata, what was that? One time, the Pandavas, they made a palace in a place called Varnavrata. So not Varnavrata, Indraprastha. They had a huge palace. One of the Danavas, one magician called Maya Danav had made this palace. And this palace was so amusing. What would look at like ground would actually be water. And what would be water would actually be a ground. So Duryodhan once entered into this palace and he thought it was water. He pulled his dhoti up to walk and it was land. And where he thought it was land was actually water. He fell inside. When he fell in that water, Draupadi and the ladies there, they started to laugh. I mean, now something happens like this, naturally you laugh. Duryodhan, he just couldn't take it. His ego was so high, he just couldn't handle that someone is laughing at me. Duryodhan noted that, and made his mind that I am going to destroy this family. Can you imagine? Someone has laughed at you for one incident, and you blew it to such proportions that you want to destroy this entire family. In Ramayana, we saw in Mahabharata, the whole war started because it was not even an insult. It was not even an insult, it was just some little joke, but Duryodhan didn't have a sense of humor. He took it out of proportions. In the Ramayana, the entire game of Lord Ram going to the forest, you know how it started? When Lord Ram was a small child, he was practicing archery. There was one lady in the palace. Her name was Mantara. She was hunched back lady. Back was bent down. So Lord Ram, because it was a hunchback, he took an arrow, put some mud on it, and shot it, and hit that hunchback of this lady Mantara. It was like a small prank, a joke. This is the only joke that Ram had ever done. But this joke costed him a lot. This Mantara and people around, when that ball of mud hit her back, everyone started to laugh. But Mantara, because she didn't have a sense of humor, she noted that and she decided, this boy, I'm going to teach him a lesson. And finally, Mantara made Kaikai send Ram to the forest for 14 years. Because she couldn't handle that one insult, because she didn't have a sense of humor. So we need to understand that we are anyway insignificant in this world. If some people make some little fun of us, we should be able to deal with it, right? So another way we'll be coming to this, what we are discussing on a regular basis and what we are encouraging all of you all to practice, the ABCD of spiritual life: association, books, reading Gita Bhagavat, chanting Hare Krishna, and diet. These things make a big difference in conquering all these various kinds of emotions. Whether it is lust, greed, anger, these things are very important. Association means satsang. When we come to a satsang like this, when we read Gita Bhagavat, and when we are regularly reminded the dangers of anger, how anger can lead to degradation, when we hear different stories, so gradually our mindset becomes very, very clear. Gradually, in the scriptures, we have many people who had a very past, but because they came to a proper satsang, gradually they became. Is very, very important. Similarly, reading books, reading scriptures in Sanskrit is called Swadhyay. Swadhyay means self-study, studying yourself. We spend so much time in studying the world. How much time do we spend in studying ourselves? What our emotions are, what our mind is, how to deal with it. So studying books, reading Gita Bhagavat is something that is very, very important. Srila Prabhupada, who was the founder Acharya of ISKCON, Prabhupada went to preach this Krishna conscious movement in America. And he was having a group of boys and girls who practically didn't have any sort of culture in their life, I mean, they were into so many wrong habits as hippies. But just by coming in touch with the association of a devotee, just by coming in touch with spiritual books, gradually their lifestyle changed. They became more and more pure. So reading books is very important. And similarly, chanting, mantra meditation, right? Especially when these emotions of anger come up, chant Hare Krishna. When you just keep chanting Hare Krishna, realize that sense of awareness will come. Krishna will help us. Ultimately, all these emotions are so powerful Without God's mercy, very difficult to conquer all of them. Whether it is lust, greed, anger, any of this, very difficult to conquer without God's mercy. So therefore, chanting the holy names of Krishna on a regular basis is something that is very important, that will actually soothe our mind. Another way that we can bring about a sense of uh, accountability, a sense of dealing with anger, is revealing our problems to someone whom we really trust. Especially, after bouts of anger, discussing with someone, taking help. See, ultimately, we will not be able to deal with all these issues alone. Having a support system, just like people, who are into alcohol, very addicted to alcohol, Alcoholic Anonymous, you go in that group, that support system, you can actually come out. So everyone has certain things that they are weak about. Someone just can't control lust, someone just can't control anger. So you take support. So when you take support of people who are better at that particular emotion, they deal with it in a better way, then you can actually develop all these qualities. So these are certain things that we need to remember. And also, finally, when we actually get into these bouts of anger, or when our mood is very, very bad, anger is actually because of bad moods. How do you recover from a bad mood? One thing that we can always do is listen to inspirational lectures. Just like I spoke about books. Similarly, hearing stories of great personalities who dealt with it. There was one time, one great saint who went into a river to take bath, a holy river, just like people go to Kumbh to take snan. He went to a holy river to take bath. As soon as he came out, there was one guy who was very envious. He had water in his mouth and he started to spit at him. Just started to spit at this guy. So this sage, even though anger was boiling in him, he said, let me just go and take a bath again. He went and took a bath again. He came out again, this fellow started to spit. So again he went and took bath again. Someone told him, Baba, this guy is spitting at you so many times, why don't you beat him? So this fellow is my well-wisher, because of him, I'm able to take bath in holy river so many times. So we can always learn to see things in a different way, right? So inspirational lectures is something that is very useful. We already discussed practice of yoga, reading spiritual books, discussing with some devotees, like that. Right? So if we follow all these things, gradually we'll be able to recover from this habit of anger. And especially in those moments of anger, the best thing is to pause. Come at it probably tomorrow or day after. You'll be able to deal with it in a better way. So these are some of the thoughts I had about anger. What is anger? The consequences of anger, and some thoughts that can help us actually deal with anger in a better way. Ultimately, especially this ABCD, Association of Devotees, reading spiritual books, chanting, and having a good diet, a sattvic Krishna-based diet, can actually help us deal with these emotions. And so these are some of my thoughts on anger. Anyone has any questions, any comments?
The sattvic khana is very difficult in Goa. There's so much prawns and curries. I mean,
I think it's difficult.
Temptation is there.
Yeah, temptation is there everywhere. So therefore, satsang. Therefore, association. Temptation is there, then that means you need more association. We need more association. So we have to be protected. It's as simple. If we are weak alone, then remain in the right association. Then you can actually overcome. And also avoiding the wrong association, that is also part of it. Right? Because if you feel that I'm very strong and I go in the wrong association, you will definitely succumb completely. You will succumb. Krishna, yesterday only we were discussing the second chapter of Gita. Krishna says, someone who's very intelligent, someone who's very advanced spiritually, he also can't take his senses for granted. Because the senses are so powerful that it can drag you away. So being very alert, staying protected in that good association is important.
On the same line, when you say having good association, right? So, to your point, if you've grown up here that we grown up eating a particular type of diet, right? Let's say prawns, fish, etc. So how would you say that that is wrong association and you should move to sattvic, and that is good association? Because again, it's a something you grow up with. It's a form of living. I'm just trying to.
Yeah. I get your point. So the point is, scriptures give us a proper understanding of what a healthy human diet should be, especially for someone who's wanting to practice spirituality. It's simple. Like someone who's a Bollywood star, they also follow a certain diet. You'll find all these stars follow a certain diet. They also wake up early, they do their gym because they know that temptations are there. They might have eaten certain things whole life, but then if they want to make a career in a certain way, in a certain path, there's a certain diet. For people who want to build muscles, there's a certain diet. For people who are athletes, there's a certain diet. Similarly, if you want to practice spirituality, if you want your mind to be more easily absorbed in spiritual life, there's a certain diet. We may be having a certain inclination or a certain lifestyle before, but slowly it can be molded. In proper satsang, when you understand the importance of something, slowly it can be molded. That's why I told you our movement Srila Prabhupada started in the West, in America. People who are like, for them, all these things is just normal. But all these people also have moved to a very sattvic diet, a vegetarian diet, offering to Krishna, because they have understood the importance of it. So once you have the right kind of education and the right kind of environment, then that change will come very easily. It's not going to be difficult. Slowly it will come. The power of association is so much, the power of chanting is so much that it can help mold anyone. No one can say that I am so sinful that I can never be changed. No, you may be very sinful, but the chanting is 1,000 times more powerful than you. It has changed the greatest sinners. It can change anyone and everyone. You have to just give the process, a time basically.
When you talk about lust, anger, and greed, you can understand the relationship. Lust, unfulfilled,
Anger.
Fulfilled is greed, unfulfilled is anger.
Correct.
Very easy to understand. But that is, I think, the whole energy that's driving the whole world. The lust to be successful.
Yeah.
If I'm not successful, I do commit wrong things. So it's easy, and what you say makes total sense. But still, most of us, all of us, succumb to the lust, anger, greed. Whether it's for money, whether it's for A, B, C, D, whatever. Easy said, but how do you practice?
Yeah, I fully agree to it, especially in Kali Yuga, the present age. Prabhupada mentions in the Gita, 99.99% of the energy around is lust. That's what it is. Everything, what is the impetus for anyone to do anything? The impetus to become successful, the impetus to get money, the impetus for anything is ultimately my desires, I and mine. That's what it is. So when life revolves around this, that means people are very selfish and self-focused. So the energy is everywhere out there. So those who are trying to practice spirituality in an environment like this, it's definitely going to be difficult. But if you follow the process very properly, then even in this environment, you can thrive. Even in this environment, you can thrive spiritually. The Mahabharata war, on one end, there were Kauravas, who are like people who are into wrong habits, people who are driven by lust, greed, envy. They were such kind of people, anger, Kauravas. And on the other side, you have the Pandavas, who are driven by pure love for Krishna, the desire to serve, completely selfless, humble people. Kauravas were 11 Akshauhini Senas, and the Pandavas were 7. So in one sense, logically speaking, there was no possibility for the Pandavas to win. But because they had faith in Krishna, they had Krishna with them, they won the war. Similarly, the number, we may be outnumbered in terms of people who want to practice spirituality. I mean, how many people are there in the program here? How many people are there in this colony and in Panjim? The number of people who want to come for a satsang is always going to be very, very less. The number out is huge. For a party, you'll have a huge number. For all these things, you'll have a huge number. Here, it's going to be less, right? Even though it's paid, there still people go. Even though it's free here, still people don't come. You pay for doing a wrong activity. You don't have to pay for doing a right activity, still people don't come. That's the energy in this world. That's the energy. But
They've got to realize what is right. They have to realize what is right.
Exactly.
That's where the problem is.
yeah. So therefore, when we come in association of devotees, that's where slowly the thought process changes. So regular association will help us change our thought process, and through that we'll be able to deal with the energy. Even in this environment, we'll be able to practice bhakti. It is possible. There are so many people around the world who are doing it. Be in America, Europe, anywhere else, they're practicing Krishna consciousness. So that's why I'm telling you the process is very powerful, provided we practice the process. They say in English, na, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Until you eat it, until you practice it, you'll never understand how powerful it is. We have to give it a chance. It doesn't make sense.
This is another question.
Ask.
No, but this is thought provoking.
Yeah. Ultimately, it is.
How much is enough?
So that call, I think everyone will have to take personally. So for that honesty, a sense of understanding of scriptures, then you'll have to make that call. Otherwise, how much is enough? Ultimately, you'll be able to make that decision when you're clear with what is the goal of life. What is the goal of life? Is our goal of life to enjoy? If the goal of life is to enjoy, then nothing will be enough. You'll always keep wanting more and more. But if your goal of life is to serve, to develop that satisfaction, then you'll be able to draw a line that this is enough. So having that purpose very clear is very important. In today's world, people just don't have a purpose. They don't have any goal. Or if they have a goal, that's a very shallow, very selfish kind of goal. If you have a very selfless goal, then very quickly you'll be able to come to decisions of how much is enough.
Today I got some news at around 3 o'clock, and I immediately got the news was that I was angry. I was angry because it was a shock, that, oh my God, how am I going to manage? So for about 10 minutes I was very angry, and then I thought, oh, why are you worried now? Krishna is there, he will take care. Suddenly, from anger, because I thought if I carry on, this blood pressure will go up. I thought, what the hell happens with a reason? Don't spoil anything. Just and it helps us. Why Krishna? Everything will be okay. So, like you said, divert your channels, and know that there is a force out there helping you.
Yeah.
In my case, it's Krishna, because I am a devotee. So that helped me today, and I stopped my anger. And I came back, I'm shopping. I came back thinking, okay, doesn't matter, everything happens for a reason. So
And also, every time even after knowing all this, tomorrow we may still get angry. So when we do that, we should first become humble. We should understand that I've again done a mistake, I've blundered. So it makes you humble. And in that humble state, when you pray to Krishna, when you sit and chant Hare Krishna, pray to Krishna, my dear God, I'm not able to control these emotions, you please help me. And then that divine grace essence, it descends and it actually helps us conquer. So, everything, even a failure can be helpful if we become humble and take shelter of God. Because ultimately, the conclusion of the scriptures is all these emotions of the mind, on our level, we will never be able to do it. Therefore, when we sit to chant the holy names of God, we are helplessly praying to God that, my dear God, you please help me. I'm completely helpless in this world. If you hear the prayers of any great saint, be in the Vedic religion, the Christian religion, you'll find a lot of humility in their prayers. Even though they are very advanced, they'll pray to God that, my dear God, I'm not able to control these emotions, you please help me. I'm always falling prey to these emotions. So this kind of mindset is very nice, that can make us advance in spiritual life.
also I find chanting is very, very helpful. Because if things are not working your way or you're frustrated, I just say Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, 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 and I repeat it, and it takes my mind away from the situation. So that
Yeah.
so it balances me. And I find in the last year and a half since I've been practicing Prabhuji's and spirituality, I feel a lot of improvement in myself. I mean, there's a lot to learn, but there is improvement. And these things, chanting, bhakti, remembering God, and I honestly believe Krishna is.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
I'm not so worried anymore like I used to be. I will do this, I will do this. And now my faith is okay, Krishna is there. Now why are you worried?
Yeah. Yeah. We have to just do our job and then leave the rest. Do your best and leave the rest to God.
Bhakti, bhakti.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I've been telling. Bhakti only. Chanting. These four things, this is what is the key. Association, satsang. Satsang means not once a while, regular satsang, regular dosage. Second is books on a regular basis, chanting, and then prasad, sattvic diet. These things will make a difference. It has made a difference to thousands of people, lakhs of people. It will make a difference to us. The process is very powerful, provided we follow it. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
If you want to speak to Prabhuji, most welcome.